The Cracker Fairies. Elsie and William were so unhappy that they cried streams of tears down their cheeks, and indeed it wasn't surprising because they both had bad colds on Christmas Day and had to stay in bed. "It is bad luck," said Mummy, "but it's just no good letting you get up. You might be really ill, so you must play with your presents in bed and try and be happy." But poor Elsie and Will found it very difficult to be happy. Their new toys were on their beds, but they didn't feel like playing with them. They could wind up their new train and new motor cars and bus, but they couldn't let them run on the bed. They got caught in the sheets, so it really wasn't any fun at all. Mummy was so busy too, because Granny and Grandpa, Auntie Ellen and Uncle Jim and their children were all coming to tea that afternoon. She had such a lot of things to get ready that she really hadn't had much time for Elsie and William. "Could John, Joan and Jessie come to see us this afternoon when they come?" asked Elsie. Mummy shook her head. "No," she said, "you might give them your cold and that would never do. I'm so sorry, darlings, but we will give you a treat when you're better, and you must just be as cheerful as you can without any visitors to see you today." Now it so happened that 12 little fairies came by that way and peeped in at the children's window. When they saw Elsie and William crying, they were most surprised. "Look at that," said the biggest fairy, "crying on Christmas Day. Whatever's happened? Do you suppose they didn't get any presents?" "They've plenty on their beds," said the second fairy. "They must be ill, poor children. What a shame. Let's go and play with them to cheer them up." So in at the window they went, but just as they were inside behind the curtain, the bedroom door opened and the children's mother walked in. The fairies got a terrible fright. Wherever were they to hide? On the chair nearby was a box of crackers. "Quick," whispered the biggest fairy. "There are 12 crackers. Look, we'll each slip inside one and we won't be seen." So into the crackers they crept, right into the very middle, where caps and toys were waiting. They hid there as quiet as mice and didn't move at all in case the children's mother should see them. "I wish we could have our crackers now," said Elsie with a sigh. "I'm tired of lying here without any excitement at all." "Well, you can have them if you like," said their mother, and she put the box on the children's bed. "Now I must go down and see how things are getting on. Be good." She went out of the door, and Elsie took up a cracker and held it out to Will. "Pull, Will," she said. "We'll see what's inside." They pulled hard, and bang! The cracker came in half with a loud pop, and out fell a fairy, a cap and a toy. But the children took no notice of the cap and the toy. They stared in the greatest astonishment and delight at the little fairy with her blue dress and blue wings. She flew onto Elsie's hand. "I've come to play with you to cheer you up on Christmas Day," she said. "Pull the other crackers and see what's in them." So Will and Elsie pulled a second cracker. Bang! Out fell another fairy, all in pink this time. She flew onto Will's hand and stood there laughing at him. He was simply delighted. Well, one after another, all those crackers were pulled, and out fell the 12 fairies, laughing and chattering, flying about the bed and making such a cheerful bird-like noise. "We'll wind up your toys and set them going on the floor for you to see if you like," said the biggest fairy. So down they all flew, and soon the engine, the motor cars and the bus were running busily over the floor. Then the second fairy, who was very good at reading, read a whole story to the children from one of the new books. By that time it was dinner time, and the children's mother came in with their dinner. The fairies hid under the pillows at once. Mummy was more surprised to see the children looking so happy and cheerful. When they ate their dinner, the 12 fairies sat around the edges of the 2 plates and nibbled crumbs of bread. It was so funny to see them. When Mummy came in again, they slipped under the sheet, and Elsie nearly laughed out loud because one fairy tickled her leg. "Now you must have your rest," said Mummy, and she tucked them up. As soon as she had gone, the fairy slipped out from the bed. "Where can we have a rest too?" they asked. "Could you all get into my doll's cot, do you think?" asked Elsie. They flew over to it. They scrambled in, put their tiny heads on the pillow, and were soon just as fast asleep as the 2 children. They had tea with the children when they woke up, and when Mummy bought Elsie and William 2 balloons, the fairies played with them all over the room. They flew in the air and bumped the balloons up to the ceiling. "You are so funny," laughed Elsie. "I've never seen anyone play with balloons like that before." Then it was time for the fairies to go. They kissed the children, and do you know what 2 of the fairies gave them? A tiny silver wand each that could do magic. Mummy found the wands under the pillow. "I suppose these little things came out of the crackers," she said. "What dear little toys." "They did come out of the crackers," Elsie whispered to Will. "They came with the cracker